Okay, dear SBR students, I'm Abil Ahmed, SBR expert. Let us quickly discuss two situations which they have recently asked. Where did they ask? I'll tell you. Situation number one. The question is, do we need to always capitalize the provision? The answer is no. It depends on the context. For example, let's talk about the decommissioning cost. Obviously, I'll be calculating the present value decommissioning cost, and that present value decommissioning cost will be capitalized. And then slowly and gradually there will be unwinding of discount. Due to unwinding of discount, finance cost will be created and provision will increase. Now let's discuss the another scenario. Assuming something went wrong within your warehouse due to fire XYZ, and it created, of course, problem for the customer and for the society XYZ. And now what happened? Legal proceeding, actually, due to that fire in your warehouse, legal proceedings uh, has started against your company, and there are more than 50% chances that you will end up by paying the damages. You will end up by paying that XYZ amount which they are claiming. Now, what company did here? Assuming that amount, I'm just assuming that amount was 5 or 6 million. Okay, what company did, since the company will end up by paying that amount, okay, and the chances are more than 50%, obviously you have to recognize the provision. But what company did, that is very interesting to know. Company did recognize a provision in this event, which is quite okay, perfectly okay. But the mistake which they did, they capitalized that provision. You will be paying, let's say, because of the legal proceeding, you will end up by paying. And in that scenario, you should not have capitalized. Recognizing a provision is acceptable, but capitalizing is that provision is not acceptable. So the correct what correction then we have to do it simply, the capitalized portion we will have to expense out. If it is a group SOFT question, okay, so obviously the retained earning is going to be debited, and the property, plant and equipment which was capitalized we have to expense out. So that simply that will be credited. Now let's talk about another situation. IAS 23, which deals with, I would say, qualifying asset. Assuming your company has spent X amount on the construction of a qualifying asset. Qualifying asset is an asset which requires substantial time period for its construction, development, for its intended use. Okay. Let's say the question says company has spent X amount on the construction of a qualifying asset, number one. Number two, for that qualifying asset, company took a loan. On that loan, while that qualifying asset was developing, company has paid the finance cost as well. Assuming the finance cost amount is 5 lakh, and the amount which they have spent on the completion and development of that qualifying asset, let's take it 5 million. Okay. Now what company did here is 5 million is the construction cost of that qualifying asset, and 500,000 is the finance cost which they have paid. Okay. What company did? Company expense out the entire amount. Obviously, it is incorrect. You should have capitalized the entire amount instead of expense out. So according to IAS 23 borrowing cost, obviously, whatever amount we have spent on a qualifying asset, okay, I have to capitalize that, plus the borrowing cost, which obviously my company has incurred relating to the qualifying asset development, I'm going to capitalize that as well. So what will be the correcting entry? Again, if it is a group SOFT question, simply you will debit the property, plant and equipment, and you will credit simply the retained earning. Okay. And then of course you have to see what is the useful life and XYZ. Then you will start appreciating that asset as well. Okay, now let's talk about government grant. Now this is a very interesting scenario. IAS 20, we know that applies on government grant. Assuming that your government is going to give you a grant, means there's a reasonable assurance that your company is going to get the government grant. Okay, fine. When it is a reasonable assurance, we'll be getting a government grant. So you should start accounting of the government grant on the basis of, let's say, government grant receivable. Let's say that grant actually relates to a fixed asset, that relates to a property, plant and equipment. Now the question is, assuming you are sitting in an examination hall, okay, and you have identified that yes, there's a reasonable assurance my company is going to get government grant against that fixed asset. Now what should be done? There are two possible accounting treatment given by IAS 21, you can deduct that government grant from the carrying amount of, let's say, property, plant, and equipment, or you can just take that government grant as deferred income. Let me tell you one thing. Since nothing is, if nothing is mentioned in the question, if nothing is mentioned in the question, you can use any one of the methods. 100% acceptable. There's no need to read the question again and again for the hint. If examiner might have given you the hint to follow which method, no. Once you have read the question, you are 100% sure that they did not mention which method should I use, then you can use any method. Either you can go for deferred income treatment, you can go for deducting that grant from the carrying amount of property, plant, and equipment. That is 100% acceptable. So we have discussed quickly the scenario of provision, second, borrowing cost, and third, relating to IAS 20 also. Now you might be thinking, sir, all of these scenarios and context, everything looks very easy. If it looks very easy to you, then that's, I would say you should consider this thing a very nice for you. Okay, that goes in your favor. If it looks, all the scenarios they are looking very, I would say, reasonable and straightforward to you, then this sort of thinking goes in your favor. And let me tell you, all these scenarios they were examined in SBR ACCA question number 1 pre-scene mock June 2026. And finally, students, if you are still thinking to enroll yourself in our crash courses, so you can still enroll yourself in our crash courses and to get the benefit. And don't forget, just by spending 7 to 8 hours, you can revise all ISS and IFRS of SBR. And after that, all you need is just spend 7 hours on our consolidation crash course, and you will be having an excellent grip on consolidation. So there are two types of crash courses. One is on ISS, IFRS. Just spend 7 to 8 hours and get a revision of all SBR, ISS, and IFRS. And when it comes to consolidation, you just need to spend 7 hours. You still have good enough time for these crash courses. And after these crash courses, I can assure you, you will feel the difference. And that difference is going to be really positive. Thank you very much for watching this concept building video. Thanks a lot.